We're going to begin with one of the people that we've talked about the most in the history of this program. I'm getting a little Caitlin Clark fatigue. Would never suggest that the Indiana Fever could possibly be better without the great Caitlin Clark in the lineup. How much media attention would the Indiana Fever's run that close to making the finals have gotten if Caitlin Clark was healthy? Is Caitlin Clark the third best player on her own team? She was no better than that this year. We're going to begin with one of the people that we've talked about the most in the history of this program, Caitlin Clark, who is today playing in the Annika in Tampa Bay, an LPGA Tour event hosted by Annika Sorenstam, one of the greatest players in the history of women's golf, and fans flocking out to see the most recognizable female athlete, probably not only in women's basketball, maybe in American sports. Caitlin Clark out there doing her thing. And let's take a look here. I think we've got some footage, do we not, of her out there swinging the clubs. People are hyper-analyzing her swing. She's getting a lot of praise. Let's get a look at her on the tee here. It's a decent swing. I told Tim before the show, let's calm down. She's an amateur golfer. She's all right. Get a look at her here with the iron in her hand. I don't know what she's shooting. I don't know what her handicap is. Her handicap is her three-point shot, if you look at her statistics this season. But she can drain putts, snaking one in there. And her caddies, very excited about it. Her caddies for this, the other two members of Trace Laches, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, right there flanking her, the three most famous members of the Indiana Fever, and I'm not sure why. Well, I know why, but I'm not sure that it should be that way. Look, I'm getting a little Caitlin Clark fatigue, and I'm going to plead guilty to covering Caitlin Clark on this show probably too damn much, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Caitlin Clark's popularity has been such that Ronnie T-Shirts and I found ourselves in the rather strange position of talking about the WNBA on this program a ton, both during the 2024 when we were discussing her and everything going on in the league, and in 2025 as well. But as you know, very likely, her 2025 season did not go so well. Caitlin Clark injured throughout most of the year. She only played 13 of the 44 regular season games, and she did not have a very good encore to her Rookie of the Year campaign last year at all. And I don't want to bring up a sore spot, Caitlin Clark fans, but let's look at her stats here. I want you to look at her last 7 games of this season. And I want to be fair about this. She is an incredibly talented player. I am on the record saying that I believe she will eventually win an MVP award, although could you blame me for wavering on that thought when you look at the last 7 games that she played during her injury-shortened season? If you want to do the math on this, don't worry about it. I'll do it for you. That is 7 of 49 from three-point range over those 7 games. And look at her overall field goal percentage. It wasn't just three-pointers that were giving her problems. 35% from the field, her best game out of the 7. And she had 35 turnovers over the course of these 7 games. The Fever went 4-3 somehow over the course of this stretch, but I don't know that Caitlin deserves much of the credit for that. And I'm going to tell you, we had a thumbnail that went up on YouTube during the season that asked the question, are the Fever better without Caitlin Clark? And I complained about it and had it changed. because I thought that it was misleading, because I, Ricky Cobb, brilliant mind that I am, would never suggest that the Indiana Fever could possibly be better without the great Caitlin Clark in the lineup. Well, not so fast, Grizzly Adams, because if you look at what happened at the conclusion of the season, the Indiana Fever had a very under-the-radar Cinderella run that damn near put them in the WNBA Finals. They won 16 of their last 28 games before they finally got upended in Game 5, which is the maximum. Game 5 is what semifinal series in the WNBA playoffs go to. They got upended in overtime of Game 5 by the eventual champion Las Vegas Aces. A Las Vegas Aces team that went on into the finals against the Phoenix Mercury and swept their asses. Okay? So I want you to think about that. How much media attention would the Indiana Fever's run that close to making the finals have gotten if Caitlin Clark was healthy and in the lineup? The ratings probably would have been record numbers. What if Sophie Cunningham was in there? Sophie Cunningham injured herself. No, it wasn't a twerking injury. In case you're asking, she hurt herself during a game. It's good to see her wearing pants at the LPGA event as well. I don't know if she had time to twerk when Caitlin snaked in that birdie putt or not. We know that she likes to go and twerk in malls. And Lexi Hull, well, look, I don't want to knock her, but she's a very pedestrian WNBA player. She's all right. She's mainly famous because she's good looking and she's friends with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. Let's talk about these ladies right here. Where's Aaliyah Boston? Where's Kelsey Mitchell? Why don't we ever talk about them? They made the most anonymous Cinderella run that almost took them to the league finals that you could have ever possibly have thought of. Some people watching this right now, you might not even fucking know that the Fever came within overtime of making it to the finals without Caitlin Clark and without Sophie Cunningham. Now, Sophie Cunningham is a decent player, but that's all she is. She's a decent player. Excellent twerker, decent player. Aaliyah Boston is a great basketball player. Kelsey Mitchell is a great basketball player. Kelsey Mitchell averaging over 20 a game to lead the Fever this season, and Aaliyah Boston averaging 16 points and 9 rebounds. And they damn near put that team on their shoulders and got them to the finals without Caitlin and without Caitlin's enforcer, Sophie Cunningham. And we, on this show, barely even talked about it. And I'll take the blame for that, but why didn't we talk about it? We didn't talk about it because we knew that Indiana Fever thumbnails without Caitlin Clark are not going to get ratings. And let me tell you, in case you're wondering, in social media, in journalism, ratings, ultimately at the end of the day, they're damn near everything. Caitlin Clark is ratings gold. The Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark just simply isn't. Nobody was captivated. Nobody was following it along. And Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, who are maybe the two best players on the team. At this point in time, is Caitlin Clark the third best player on her own team? She was no better than that this year. Let's be honest. If I'm drafting them, I'm going to take Caitlin Clark first. If I'm buying stock in their futures, I'm going to take Caitlin Clark. Was Caitlin Clark the best of the three this year? No. I mean, far from it. She shot 27.9% from three. She shot 36.7% overall for the season and averaged 5.1 turnovers per game. Fair is fair. And for a show and for a host who has spent so much time banging the drum for Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, it's time that Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell receive credit for what they did. Because Caitlin Clark, while I still think she's going to have a very fantastic rest of her career, all right, I do believe that. Right now, this year, this season, we're verging into famous for the wrong reasons. And so I've got Caitlin Clark fatigue. I'm going to tell you, Jim Cornette, one of my favorite figures in the history of pro wrestling, has a little saying that goes something like, how can I miss you if you won't go away? And Caitlin Clark went away this year, and none of us were happy about it. I would have much preferred, as would anybody who enjoys watching her play basketball, we would have loved to have seen her be healthy. But she ended up missing over 30 games and the entirety of the playoffs with injuries. And we still ended up talking about her more than the rest. Well, I would say that we talked about her more than the rest of the team combined, but we did spend a fair amount of time talking about Sophie Cunningham, who again twerks in malls and is a sixth woman type level player. So credit to the ones who actually went out there and got the job done. Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, I apologize to you. You're both excellent players. You get no media attention, and you deserve credit for what you did on the court. Because, yes, I know it's an entertainment game, and I know that Caitlin Clark is box office, and I know that Sophie Cunningham has captivated people, and nothing against them. But at the end of the day, as a sports fan, it should still matter what's going on the court. And Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell basically are in the witness protection program. And their talent level relative to Caitlin Clark's it's infinity closer than the public perception is. They're bit players. They don't even get credit as the bit players. That is Sophie Cunningham and that is Lexi Hull. And look, nothing against these women, but Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell are magnitudes better than either one of them. And this year, they were also better than Caitlin Clark. But she's got a decent swing. I'll give her that. And apparently pretty good with the flat stick. This episode today, my friends, is brought to you by PrizePicks. You know, you and I make decisions every day. But on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So get your butt on over to PrizePicks and get in on the excitement. Because at PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I would advise you to take advantage of the max discounts. If you have watched this show very much at all, you have probably heard me extol the virtues of getting in on a max discount. It makes it that much easier to win. And best of all, when you sign up, use my code Ricky and you will get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. It's as simple as that. RICKY, play a $5 lineup and you're going to get $50 on the house at PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. And I believe we have the leaderboard here, the Outkick leaderboard at PrizePicks. I'm eager to see how I'm doing. How are these results checking out? Oh, we don't have a leaderboard. Sorry, I thought we had a leaderboard. Well, fuck everybody, man. We don't have a leaderboard. All right, while I'm in the business of complaining today and being very honest about everything, let's talk about Michael Wilbon, shall we? Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz of the Cleveland Guardians, both indicted for micro bet gambling schemes that they had going on with associates. Emmanuel Clase, the all-star closer of the Cleveland Guardians, apparently the guy who dreamt this up and conspired with bettors to intentionally throw balls on the first pitch of a number of different innings and conspired to throw pitches below a certain speed in order for his friends to profit on those particular micro bets. Clase's involvement in this goes all the way back to 2023. Ortiz was the first name that we heard associated. And on PTI, Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon discussing this very topic, and it's a topic that we've talked about. I posted a video to YouTube and X. It was going around social media just this week discussing this. A lot of people are talking about it. Look, we can make all the jokes that we want. I talk about Pete Rose, and I say it's going to be hard to explain to your kids that Pete Rose isn't at the Hall of Fame induction presented by FanDuel or DraftKings, because it's everywhere. It is absolutely saturated everything about sports now, legalized gambling. And I don't know how you put the toothpaste back in the tube. I think you certainly have to do what I believe Rob Manfred is talking about now, cap the micro bets at a reasonable dollar amount. All right? If you are such a degenerate gambler that you want to bet on whether Paul Skeens is going to throw a ball or a strike on the first pitch of the third fucking inning, you don't need to bet more than a relatively small amount on that. I hardly ever bet more than $100 or $200 on anything. Those are large wagers for me. And if somebody's out there betting 5 or 10 grand or something like that on the results of a single pitch, I smell foul play somewhere. Because what kind of a fucking maniac would do that unless they thought that they knew something? And in the case of Clase and Ortiz, we find out that they did. So Tony and Mike on PTI talking about this, and Michael Wilbon, a guy that I respect a great deal and that I've always enjoyed, coming out with one of the worst takes I've heard in recent memory. Let's listen.
And you know what, Tone? I don't care.
Really?
Because at the highest levels of pyramids in this country, in this culture, everybody's betting now. It's on every phone except yours and mine.
But don't you want it to be honest? Don't you want it to be honest?
Does that affect the game? Does it tilt it in any way that matters to me?
I know what you're going to say, that it's very small and it's not throwing the game.
Right.
But the more these things happen, it's
I can't
water
even
that's
disagree
leaking on
with that.
something
There's a
and suddenly
slippery
there's
slope.
He doesn't care. Tony pushing back rightfully there. He doesn't care. Doesn't tilt it in any way that's meaningful to him. Listen, Wilbon's a smart guy. And I have a feeling that if we were to ask him point blank right now to defend that, he would probably walk some of it back and clarify. However, it is a big deal because let me tell you, folks, the only thing that separates this from going to the movies or watching a TV show or watching Hulk Hogan wrestle the Ultimate Warrior is that we know and have a right to believe that what we're watching has integrity and it's a real competition. The absolute lifeblood of sports, and I can't believe that I'm sitting here in 2025 and I'm even having to say this, the lifeblood of sports is that you can count on the fact that everybody is trying. It's as simple as that. Sports are on a slippery slope with what's going on with legalized gambling and particularly micro bets. We've already seen what is hit in the NBA. And I know this stuff, it doesn't make any sense. You look at a guy like Terry Rozier and you say, well, why would he do that? You look at a guy like Chauncey Billups, a guy who's in the Hall of Fame, a guy who's the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, and now you're indicted for a poker ring in his case. It's like something out of like fucking Ocean's 14 going on. All right. So I can't make sense of the decisions that some people are making, but let me tell you something. Nothing will corrupt faster than the love of money. I'm a collector of baseball memorabilia, other sports memorabilia, and I have a decent autograph collection. Well, as you may know, if you also collect autographs on any level whatsoever, even if you dabble, the amount of fraudulent autographs that are out there circulating around of Mickey Mantle and Ted Williams and Willie Mays and on and on and on. There's probably 10 frauds for every real one, maybe 100 frauds for every real one circulating out there in the world because everybody wants to make a buck where they think they can make it. And this legalized gambling, there's so much money in it, people see an opportunity, and it doesn't even stay within the bounds of reason. When we look at it, Emmanuel Clase, multi-year contract, multi-millions of dollars, no telling how much money he had in front of him in his career. If he continued pitching the way that he has pitched during his whole career, he's got a career ERA under 2. And it's going to stay there in perpetuity because he will never set foot on a major league mound again. And he's going to be lucky if he doesn't end up in prison for a long period of time. And for what? To send $14,000 to the Dominican Republic? Write a fucking check with $14,000 that you've made out of the millions of dollars that you're gaining from throwing a baseball. So reason doesn't even have anything to do with this, but human nature, greed, and the love of money and the action and the excitement, we got to be real careful. We're at a crossroads in sports right now. And the decisions that governing bodies and commissioners make in the coming months and years are going to have a profound effect on whether or not we're going to be able to sit down and watch a ball game in 2 or 3 years and have confidence that what we're watching is real and not staged in some way. We already have heard about what goes on with NBA officials. Tim Donaghy has talked about it. We know that it goes on. People have complained about the WNBA and said, it's barely better than the WWE for a long time. And now with what we're starting to find out, they may be a lot closer to reality than we thought. That may not just be hyperbole. But one thing I'll tell you is never hyperbole, my friends, is when I tell you that the entire country waits with bated breath for the moment that I say, it's time for America's Poll of the Day, and let's go to it now at Super 70 Sports on X, where the eagle flies high. Higher than the chances that somebody is out there making a micro bet on something absolutely idiotic right now. I say all of this, I preach as a guy who has gambled on Eastern European table tennis at 2 a.m., so I do understand the allure. And I hope that you will recognize the allure of the 4 options that we have before us. Today, we will begin with Foot Locker in the 1980s. I don't even know if Foot Locker still fucking exists. Tim, is Foot Locker still out there?
It does.
Ron, is it? Okay, it ain't
is.
what it used to be. It ain't what it used to be. Going to Foot Locker in the 1980s, be going perusing the Air Jordans, going through the Converse weapons, maybe wanting to get yourself a nice pair of high-top ponies. The options were fucking endless. Second, we have Mike Tyson, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. I remember the days when you measured Mike Tyson fights in seconds rather than rounds. The third option today, I tweeted about him yesterday and got a pretty great response about it. So I'm going to throw Stone Temple Pilots into this poll as well, Ronnie, and we'll wrap up with Jersey Mike's because, well, it's not really America's Poll of the Day if we don't include something that you can eat in it. Mike Tyson once ate part of Evander Holyfield's ear. Break it down for me, Ronnie, as only you can.
All right. Foot Locker in the 80s. I mean, you could kind of say, you could have put any store that's in the mall for this poll, and I probably would have given you the same answer. You could have said Walden Books, right? There's just something different about going to these places, and this is where you're learning about what's new out there, what new books are there, what new style of shoes. And there was something, as my friend Mark just texted me when he saw the poll come up, he said Foot Locker in the 80s was magical. But now, dude, right here,
right,
my phone, I see everything. I get targeted ads. I mean, I see new style of Nike all day long on my phone, right? And that's how I end up buying them. Pony has made a resurrection, and I've bought a couple of pair of ponies now. So going to Foot Locker as somebody that loved and still loves sneakers was awesome. Or as Mark said, magical.
Sneakerhead is what you are, Ron.
Absolutely.
You're sneakerhead.
Mike Tyson. One of the most impactful boxers of my lifetime. Loved him in the other things that he's done in his life, like he was just fantastic in Hangover and the Hangover movies. Did you know that? Yes. We used to talk about brushes with greatness on the old podcast that we did. I can't remember did I tell you that I stood like 10 feet from him at a nightclub called Pure in Vegas gosh, 20 something years ago. And
you did not? I bet he had more cocaine in his system than you did, Ron.
Well, considering I've never tried it, I would say yes. But it was just funny because he was standing there, and if you didn't know who he was, you'd be like, look at that guy at this nightclub. And when people go out to these chic nightclubs in Vegas, they're just dressed a certain way. And he looked like he had on a pair of Hager slacks. It was just so funny. So Mike Tyson's good.
Who's gonna tell him?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You make your own rules when you're Mike Tyson.
So, you put Stone Temple Pilots on here, and it actually made me think, because I went and listened to some of their songs. Part of the problem with me when you're putting music up here is I actually don't listen to a lot of music. Like, I listen to music mostly when I'm in the car with Lori on long trips. We'll listen to music, but I personally consume podcasts or like sports talk radio when I'm in my car. But dude, Stone Temple Pilots are really good. Like, you want me to go through the list of songs and just tell you? Like, Vaseline.
And I feel the time's a ways to go. Remember that? Where you go into your bedroom, and I feel better than Pearl Jam. I said it.
I think
They're better than Pearl Jam. Never got the recognition for it.
I think you put these groups up here sometimes just because it gives you an opportunity to sing. But Vaseline.
That was a game time decision, Ron. I don't plan ahead like that.
Vaseline, Plush, Interstate Love Song, Creep, Sex Type Thing. Awesome. If I start listening to more music at some point, I'm going to purposely listen to Stone Temple Pilots. Jersey Mike's. It made me laugh when you put this on here. And the reason it made me laugh is because, as you guys know, Thursdays for the last 6-7 years, I have a standing lunch with my friends. One of the people in that group is Ryan. And on our birthdays, we get to pick where we go, but we have to pay for everybody's lunch. Well, Ryan's birthday was last week, and he picked Jersey Mike's. Like all the restaurants around us, and he picked Jersey Mike's. So I just had Jersey Mike's last week. I'm voting for Stone Temple Pilots. What about you?
It's not the greatest endorsement that anybody's ever given Jersey Mike's. I had it just last week, and I like Stone Temple Pilots. I was a sneaker guy when I was in high school. Not so much anymore. I wear, Converse All-Stars pretty much all the time now. But back in the day, man, I watched the college games and the pro games like a hawk, and I wanted to have the sneakers that, my favorite players were wearing. So it was a big deal to me back then. I was also a big Mike Tyson fan. I'm a bigger Mike Tyson fan now than I was in the 80s, because I think Mike has developed much better than we might have predicted years ago.
He's alive.
I think he's got a good heart.
He's alive?
Yeah, he's alive for starters. Larry Holmes said he'd be dead or in prison, and he did go to prison for a while. But Mike seems to be in a good place in his life. I've always thought that he had a good heart, even when some of the behaviors didn't seem to align with that. And he's a surprisingly wise guy. If you listen to him talk, Mike Tyson has a certain amount of wisdom about him that people might not assume. Stone Temple Pilots, the reason that I tweeted that yesterday is I thought they were one of the most underrated band. Yeah, he definitely has. He had a rough childhood. He's been to the top, the bottom, everywhere in between. So, he's had a lot of experience to lead him to where he is now, and he seems like he's in a good place. I'm glad he didn't get hurt when he fought Jake Paul. I was, whether or not they choreographed that, I don't know. I was hoping that Mike would do something special.
Semi-choreographed.
Then after I saw the first round or two.
Semi-choreographed.
I would agree with you that something was happening there. I don't know what. And then lastly, Jersey Mike's. I hardly ever have it. I'm more of a Jimmy John's guy, I think, when I go that route. But, I got to go with Mike Tyson. I got to go with the baddest man on the planet.
Well, I can tell you, Ricky, that if for all our southern viewers, the best sub is a public sub. There's nothing in the world like a public sub. Trumps all of them.
Publix, like the fucking grocery store?
Yep. It is the best sub.
No shit.
Like, hands down. It's amazing.
All right. Well, I am not surprised that Mike Tyson wins, and Mike Tyson it's Mike Tyson against the field here.
Almost, yeah. He could end up beating all three combined.
Yeah, STP second place, and then almost a dead heat for third between 80s Foot Locker. A little bit of a disappointing performance for 80s Foot Locker, because I'll tell you right now, walking into a Foot Locker back around 1985, 86.
Looking for the guy with the referee jersey.
That was an experience, bro. Yeah, looking for the guy with the referee jersey. What a great piece of workplace apparel that was. Getting to be the Foot Locker guy, coming out, might even have to measure your foot, Ron. Back in the days when they were a lot more aggressive with those.
Was that thing?
Yeah, that thing.
That thing. We have to do is do this, and people our age will know exactly what we're talking about. That thing.
It's like, what size are you? Well, guess what? We're going to find out what fucking size you are, because I'm going in the back and I'm coming back out with the thing. We're going to put your fucking foot in it. Yeah, we're going to see what you got. And here's one for you, Ron, that's kind of fun. Anthony Edwards. Get a look at this. After the game's over, Anthony Edwards on his way back to the locker room, and an unexpected moment with a fan here. I don't know if you've seen this. The autographs, yeah, okay. That's going to happen. How about rock, paper, scissors with the kid? And then beating the kid as well.
I don't know how much you've consumed of Anthony Edwards, but he's just genuinely he's just a funny, nice guy. Like, I'm sure he has his moments. I'm sure he's done things that other people are like, oh, you don't know that. The things that I've seen, he's funny, he's clever, he's kind of a man of the people. I like it. That kid's gonna remember that his entire life, Ricky.
Yeah. And it makes me like Anthony Edwards.
Absolutely.
I came in with a just sort of neutral opinion to, he's all right. I see that. It gives me a little bit of a vibe on him. And I'm like, okay, Anthony
Ricky,
Edwards, well played.
When I was a kid, I was at a Ohio State UCLA game, and you used to be able to go down on the field because the some of the seats were actually right there on the track. There's no track at Ohio Stadium anymore. And I was standing, behind the rope as the teams were leaving, and we had just played UCLA. Freeman McNeil took his towel that, hung from his belt, and he handed it to me. Dude, I put that up on my wall, and I'm 59 years old, Ricky, and that scene with Anthony Edwards made me think about Freeman McNeil giving me his towel. So these guys. Do
you still have it?
I don't think I have it anymore.
Dang, that's awesome.
I know. But these guys, I don't know if they really realize how impactful these tiny, tiny, tiny little interactions with us as kids mean. Again, this was 50 years ago, Ricky, because I had to be like 8 or 9, and I just remember it like it was yesterday.
I remember going to a Bears game over 20 years ago. It's when Randy Moss was still with the Vikings, and Randy Moss comes out pregame warmups. And he goes over and he has a football. He throws it to a kid in the first row in the back of the end zone. And that kid helped warm him up for probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. And you just think to yourself, just watching it was cool, much less imagining what that kid must have been feeling. Okay, Ron, here's one for you. I have described you as America's foremost despiser of women's basketball. If I tell you anything, if I said, what do you think I said Jason Williams, right? He said his 1994 DuPont High state champions would beat the WNBA All-Stars today. and you were like, they would beat their brains in. But in fairness, you're the guy who, if I said Stephen Hawking late in his life, you would be like, Stephen Hawking would be the WNBA MVP. There is no chance, Ricky, he would average 50 a game. 50 a game. And be talking trash the whole time. What would it sound like if Stephen Hawking dropped a 3 on you and then talked a little trash on?
Asia, you suck. I can't even do it. I can't do my computer voice. You do it.
You sounded like a fucking hillbilly.
Well, because that's my default.
I don't know. I'm still glad I
my
asked
default
you.
voice. Hillbilly's my default.
Well,
voice.
when you went into the side head thing, I thought that you were getting into
that
character.
was because I was trying to you've got the little.
You got to be like very robotic.
I just put one in your eye hole.
That's what I'm talking about, Ron. That's why you sat in the co-pilot seat on this part. All right, so I bring this up, although pretty much we're done here. I don't need anything more from you than this. But we got some
I thought you said we were done
because
we just got canceled.
Women's team.
Because we just got canceled for what I just did.
That remains to be. Well, we're on tape now, Ron. So
that's true.
If this sees the light of day, you and me and Tim are all in this together. As we've talked about on the program, top level women's basketball teams will practice against males.
Yep.
And UConn, Gino Auriemma, UConn does that. We got some footage here of the UConn women's team playing against some dudes.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly who these dudes are, but take a look at this. They are putting the full court pressure on these guys. Ron, how do you feel about it?
Am I supposed to be impressed?
I'm not saying you should be impressed. I'm just showing you the footage and just asking for your reaction.
Okay, so I saw one play, and that dude made a bad pass. I don't know anything about their level of competence as basketball players, these guys, but I can tell you that when I was in college, my intramural team won the entire intramurals. Now, asterisk, Chris Carter's team forfeited the other semifinal game, and so we ended up playing the team that won by forfeit. Chris Carter's team would have crushed us. It's absolutely crushed us. But that being said, we won. My team would have schooled the women's basketball team at Ohio State when I was there. So absolutely schooled. I mean, my friend Mark that introduced us, he's 6'5" and he can drain threes all day long. Like, I tried out for Ohio State's basketball team. I didn't even come close to making it, but I made it to the final 3 guards. Like, I'm telling you, we would have schooled that team. Those guys, they were kind of.
You never told me that, Ron.
Really? You didn't know I tried out?
Really?
Yeah.
No, dude, you never told me that.
Well, because it's one of those
impressive.
things, dude. It's like, I know that even though I made it to the final day of tryouts, to open tryouts, I still know that the difference between me making it to the final three guards, because they had it separated, they had guards and big men, and I know that the difference between me and the last player on Ohio State's bench was a massive canyon. Like, I know that that difference was that big, but
there are levels.
Oh,
right?
gosh, yes, absolutely. But there's no way that the women's basketball team could have hung with us. Like, absolutely no way. And those guys that I just watched one play, they didn't look particularly athletic, but it was still one play. So I'm not impressed. I don't know. Are you impressed? Were other people impressed?
Don't impress me much. I'm impressed with that play, but as you said, it's one play. You can put together a highlight reel of every team that ever lost by 50 points and make them look good if you just pick a play.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what to make of it.
The best team in college basketball in NCAA Division I basketball men's, if they played a Division III team, I mean, the Division III team's still going to score a couple points in the game. Like,
they'd have some moments.
Yeah, so whoop-de-doo. That girl stole it. stole it, and they made a wide open layup. Cool.
That guy out there making that careless pass and making our entire sex look bad. Ron is out there. You ought to have to hand in his penis after that pass, as far as I'm concerned. My guest today is one of the finest first basemen of his era, a player that I remember fondly growing up. It's my pleasure to welcome to the program the All-Star, two-time World Series champion, Kent Hrbek. Kent, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ricky. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. You know, I've enjoyed your career going way back in the day, and I know that you followed Super 70s for a while. I don't mean to make you feel old now. I mean, I'm older myself. You know, you're not that much older than me, frankly. But Kent, you know, looking back at your career, born and raised in Minneapolis, it's storybook stuff. That you're born there, you're raised there, go to high school there, live your life there, get drafted by your hometown team, and then go on to win a couple of World Series. Do you ever look back and think about how improbable that whole aspect of your journey was?
I pinch myself every morning I get up and think about it. Every time I walk by a Twins emblem or a Twins logo or whatever and think about the Minnesota Twins, I say, oh my God, I was lucky enough to be a fan as a kid and listening to him as a kid and growing up, you know, listening to Herb Carneal on the radio and then imitating Tony Oliva and Rod Carew and Harmon Killebrew in the backyard, playing wiffle ball. And next thing you know, I get drafted by the Twins out of high school and end up playing for them. And one of them, you know, was part of a championship team 2 years, but in '87 was our first championship that anybody has seen around here for a long time in Minnesota. So it was pretty. I pinch myself every time I think about it.
I mean, I remember that World Series so well. The Homer Hankies were flying, and of course, you know, you guys taking on you know, a very good Whitey Herzog Cardinals team in that World Series as well. We'll get to the World Series though. I want to ask you about those in a minute, but I want to start with your journey because your minor league career, I mean, you got right after it. You know, obviously drafted in '78. By 1980, now I want to get to the humble beginnings of your professional career here. Jared, if you can throw up the picture of when Kent was with the Wisconsin Rapids Twins.
I know
and I want you to take a look at this, Kent. I've tweeted this before. I said, no team in professional baseball has ever given less of a shit about their caps than the Wisconsin Rapids Twins in 1980. Look at Guy Eddie there. It's you could drive a truck between those letters.
Logo. Yeah, it was an iron-on.
It's like Chico's bail bonds was sponsoring you guys.
Yeah,
there with that. Now
our field wasn't that much better than that either, by the way. If you would have looked at our infield or the field we played on wasn't any better than G-Man's hat.
So there you are, and you know, and I mean, you got right after it. I mean, you were raking in the minor leagues. The next year in 1981, you win the Triple Crown in the California League. For people who don't know, 379, 446, 630 slash. Nasty, so nasty, in fact, that the Twins just decided this kid doesn't even need to go to AA. He doesn't need to go to AAA. They call you up. And on August the 24th, 1981, here's another one of the things, man. I hit a lot of wiffle ball home runs in the front yard, in the backyard, at my friends' houses. I had a lot of clutch home runs in my life, but they were mostly clutch in my imagination. You come up, major league debut, you get your first career hit off of Tommy John, and in the 12th inning, you hit the go-ahead home run off of George Frazier. You know, again, Storybrooke stuff. First career major league game, and you hit a walk-off at Yankee Stadium. Does it get better than, I mean, not a walk-off, but obviously you guys were on the road, but you hit the game-winning home run at Yankee Stadium. Does it get any better than that?
I don't know if it does or not. I guess I pinch myself every time I see different videos of that, and to see my first game, and everybody says how did it feel and this and that. I mean, I happened to get a lot of great help from some teammates at the time that I played with in the minor leagues. I saw them in different leagues. Gary Ward was there, and Johnny Castino, to bring a couple names in that were players back then for the Twins. And they gave me so much help that first day I came to Yankee Stadium, all the way from Visalia, California, in the California League. And they said, hey, it's the same game you're playing that you just got done playing over in California. Just keep playing it the same way. And they really comforted me and made me feel real comfortable. And a lot of credit goes to those guys for saying, hey, it's the same game. And I looked at that my whole career. I looked at it that way.
Now, that's something that, we may never see again. The way that baseball is today, a guy jumping from A ball to it's just, it's unthinkable, really, in today's game. What was the greatest challenge? Because, in 82, you were runner-up for Rookie of the Year to Cal Ripken. So, obviously, you adapted very successfully, very fast. What was that like, going from A-ball pitchers to major league pitchers? What was the biggest difference, and how were you able to come out of the gate skipping a couple of levels and hit so well?
I don't know that. I don't know that answer. I enjoyed playing the game. I told you that I played a lot of games in the backyard as a kid, and we really enjoyed playing with a great group of guys on the block. That we had like 6 guys on the block that played. We played almost every day, baseball wise, in the backyard when it's summer, and then when hockey came, or when it came around, we played hockey. So I think it was just the idea of having that mentality of having fun playing the game. And my father stressed that a lot. And then again, the Johnny Castinos and Gary Wards of the world that came and said, hey, just keep playing the same game. I tried to keep that in my brain the whole time I was playing the game. And it seemed to work out pretty well. Nowadays you get to hear about guys in the minor leagues so far before you even get to see them. You hear about how good they are, when they're playing A ball. They would never, even in AAA or when they get drafted, you hear about them. Nowadays, it's unbelievable how much you know about the person. Back when I got drafted, I got called on a Sunday afternoon. I was watching bowling with my dad, and they called and said, hey, we drafted you in the 17th round. Do you want to sign? That was the deal. It was weird. Now it's a big ordeal with things going on. But yeah, I just kept the thing in my mind to have fun while I was playing. That's the way my dad taught me to play the game, and it worked out great for me.
Shout out to Chris Schenkel. I'm assuming you had the
there
ABC.
There you go.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon both. All right, so and you made the All-Star team in '82 as well. I don't want to leave that out during your rookie year. You had always had such a great personality. You were highly quotable, very likable guy. I think that's what drew me to you, in addition to your talent, is you just seem like the kind of guy that, that's just like a cool guy, and I know that you were a wrestling fan. I remember back in the day that growing up in Minnesota, I'm assuming, being a Minnesota kid, that you were an AWA Vern Gagne.
Of course.
That was the stuff. But Nick Bockwinkel was a significant part of
huge wrestling fan, and the guys even came to the games once in a while. So it was always fun to chat baseball and other things with them. But a lot of banquets and stuff, we hung out together, and I was always a huge wrestling fan, along with another person that I don't know if he's been on your show or not, Ron Washington, the former manager of the Braves, and was done with California. He was a huge wrestling fan too. So we played together in our early '80s at the time, and we'd have wrestling on TV all the time, Wash and I.
I love it. I've never had Wash on the show. If you want to put in a good word for me, I would love to have him on, because he's another guy that I've always loved. So Kent, let's get into that first World Series. Interestingly enough, that's the first major league team with a winning record that you played for. So I mean, you had reasonably decent teams, but you guys were usually somewhere between like 75 wins and 500. And then in 87, it clicks, and you guys obviously go on and win a world championship. What are your memories of that 87 season? Because, I didn't even have a dog in the hunt. I wasn't really a Twins fan. I was growing up in Kentucky, but there was something about that team that really resonated with me, and I enjoyed, watching you guys make the run through the postseason. I know for folks in Minnesota, it was magical.
Right. I think the thing that was neat about it, and the thing that we understood about ourselves as a team, a lot of us guys got our first shot at the big leagues. Myself, Gary Gaetti, Frank Viola, Randy Bush, Timmy Laudner. We all played in the minor leagues together at one time or another. And then all of a sudden we all get called up in 1981, 1982, 1983. And we played together as a team. We had probably 8 or 9 guys on that team in 87 that had played together in the minor leagues at one time or another together. And we knew if we stayed together, we had some pretty good players on the team. And then you had that little number 34 guy on our team, Kirby Puckett, came to us and was at 94 or 84. He came to, I think it was 84 that Puck showed up. Put another piece to the puzzle. We just never could get any pitching. We always had offensive powers. Tommy Brunansky was another guy on the team that was a great player for us. We always seemed like we struggled with our pitching staff. And as soon as we could get some pitching, it seems like we do well. And when we got Blyleven, and Blyleven showed up and did a great job for us, along with a couple of other guys that pitched well for us that year. But we knew we could hit. We knew if we stayed together, we thought, hey, we're going to have a chance someday. And it all came together in 87. We didn't have a great season, but enough to win the American League West at the time, and went on to beat the Tigers in the playoffs, and then move on to the World Series.
Yeah, and that 87 Tigers team was a dang good team too.
We weren't supposed to beat those guys either. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Doyle the John Smoltz trade. Now it's the John Smoltz trade. At the time, it was the Doyle Alexander trade. And he was lights out for those guys. I definitely remember that. The Metrodome, RIP, Sky Point to the Metrodome. You played many years there. How did you like playing indoors? How much of a home was that? An extra home field advantage in a sense? The Metrodome, being a little different, getting so loud.
I think so. It was a goofy place. It was a great place to hit. Pitchers hated pitching. Maybe that's why we never had any pitchers with our club, because nobody wanted to pitch in there, because the ball did jump in there and the ball flew a little bit more in the dome. But, it was a great place to play as far as a hitter, like I said. But, yeah, we had a big advantage in the place. People lost baseballs in there in the roof and stuff like that. That's a big question I get asked all the time. How many balls did I lose in the dome? I lost one ball that I never saw come down the whole time I played there. I picked every other ball up, but I knew what to do when the ball went up in the air. So you learn. But it definitely was but it was a fun place to play. I mean, it got loud in there. I don't know if you ever were to a game there yourself, maybe during the season, but there's probably only about 6,000 people in the stands during the season. We finally filled the place up when we got to the playoffs, and it got loud in there, and so loud to where you couldn't communicate on the field at all. It was really hard to communicate on the field because of the noise in that building. So, but yeah, the day they blew it up, I had tears in my eyes, because I played my whole career there and won 2 championships in that building, and it was tough to see an old friend go.
Well, you're talking a little bit about the defensive side of it, and tracking balls. I was shocked as I was sitting down to prep this. I thought I knew your career pretty well and probably could have done 75% of this interview just from memory. But as I was going through, checking my facts and everything, didn't know about the Triple Crown in the California League. But another thing that I was shocked as I looked at it is you didn't win a Gold Glove. And that does to me, because if you said to me, like, who was the best fielding American League first baseman in the 80s? If I was on Family Feud, that'd be a good episode of Family Feud, by the way. But if I was on Family Feud and they asked that, we asked 100 people on the street, I would have hit the button and said Kent Hrbek.
Well,
what happened? Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, it was Don Mattingly time. He got a lot more votes in New York at the time. And probably because of my size, I'm thinking that they didn't think I could catch the ball over there or whatever. But I took a lot of pride and I really got two different things from people. Dwight Evans from Boston Red Sox was at first base one time. This was towards the end of his career, probably, maybe middle of my career before Dewey was done. But he looked at me one day at first base and he says, they can put anybody over here at first base, but nobody plays first base like you do. So you got a guy on the other team telling you that you play first base that well. So that was a nice compliment. And then I do actually have a Gold Glove that you probably don't know about, but some friends do. Gary Gaetti had won 3 Gold Gloves in his career. And he said, for all the shit that I threw over to you at first base that you didn't catch, if you didn't catch it, I would never won a Gold Glove. Here's one of mine. So he gave me one of his Gold Gloves. I have it down in the basement. So I do have a Gold Glove. It's Gary's, but
that's
he
awesome.
gave it to me.
That's actually, well, you know what? That's kind of even better, though. I mean, because that came from the heart. A man doesn't just give his Gold Glove away for no reason.
Yeah, I can't think of too many. I can't think of too many people that have given their teammate a Gold Glove. So I got one from the G-Man, and I display it proudly down on my.
Are you and Gaetti still buddies after all these years?
Oh yeah, we still talk a lot. Oh heck yeah, I'm friends with a lot of guys. The Twins have done a great job. The Minnesota Twins organization have done a great job in keeping the alumni together, and it's been a great thing for all of us because we get together and have some great times and parties together. So yeah, the Twins have done a great job, and I kept in contact with a lot of guys.
Ken, obviously we got to talk about 91. I can't have an interview with you and not talk about what a lot of people think is, one of the greatest, some people might say the greatest World Series that we've ever seen. We had a good one this year, and I saw 91 coming up a lot as people were reflecting and trying to find a comparison point of other great World Series. I'm going to ask you about the play. Game 2, Ron Gant, everybody still remembers it. Ron Gant irresponsibly left the base, Kent. That's how I saw it at the time, rooting for the Minnesota Twins. Why would Ron Gant do such a thing, Kent?
I don't know what his...
Careless is what that was.
Yeah, very careless. He definitely took the wrong approach to going back to a base. He went back to the base like a little 6-year-old T-ball player would have gone back to the base. Instead of sliding, he tried to stop on the base and actually ran into my leg, teeter-tottered, and was falling off the base. I put my glove on him, and he fell over. And his momentum and my momentum going back, I knew he's coming off the bag. And that's what Duke Krobel, the first base umpire, saw the same kind of thing with what I was feeling and what a lot of people see. If you really looked at the play, he slides, he's safe. And he just stutter-stepped on the base. And, you see nowadays they play at second base all the time when a guy slides in trying to steal a bag. The way guys are keeping the tag on guys because if they slide off the base, then they call him out because replay shows him he came off the bag when he slid by or whatever. That's the same kind of play that happened there. He was coming off the bag. I kept the tag on him. So I think that if they would have had replay back then, the same thing. They always said, hey, he was falling off the bag. He kept the tag on him. So that's the way it came to me. Of course, if you're down in Atlanta, you're going to get a different word. They don't like me in Atlanta yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a buddy who's from Atlanta, and I told him he was asking me if I could talk to him this afternoon. I said, no, I said, sorry, man, I'm interviewing Ken Hrbek tomorrow. I said, I hate to bring up any kind of sore subject, but it just so happens. Kent, take me to Game 7. You know, I had John Smoltz on the show a while back who pitched a hell of a good game that night as well for Atlanta. Take me through it. I mean, this is one of the, if somebody wanted to say this is the greatest World Series game, I wouldn't argue with them. I mean, Jack Morris going 10 shutout innings, where now, you know, I tweeted once, I said, you know, now he seems like a character from the Bible. You know, the idea that a man would go 10, you know, it's like Noah and the Ark. Tell us the story of Jack Morris pitching a 10-inning shutout in Game 7 of the World Series. Yeah, they got somebody up in the bullpen before the first pitch right now practically. What was that tension like? I mean, being in a 0-0 game, 7th game of the World Series, getting into the 8th inning, 9th inning, extra innings. What's that like as a player?
Well, you know, you're on the field and you have a calmness about yourself, and you're nervous. You have to be nervous because if you aren't, then you don't have the right juices flowing, I guess. But I think it's a deal where if you say, and like I said, I like to have fun playing a game. I thought it was so fun being out there. I actually said to Lemke at one time during the game, they should cut this thing in half, and we should just both go home with half a trophy. But it was, you had a calm over you watching these guys pitch, and not just Jack, but also Smoltz. And it's too bad he came out of the game because I think he probably could have gone as many innings as Jack did at the time. But, you know, I'm going to bring up the lawn chair you're talking about again for strikes. I wish I had a lawn chair to sit there and watch Jack pitch that day because I had a pretty good seat when he was pitching that day. But the opportunities that both teams had to score runs, and we didn't, was amazing. If you look at watch the whole game in different spots, some base running mistakes. I hit a new double play in the last inning that I hit before I hit my last at bat. But it was, you know, we had the home field advantage. That's probably what gave us the win. I think we had that extra player on the field and being at home. But man, it was exciting. Sometimes you when you do watch it, you go, man, I was a part of that game, or I was in there. I was standing out there, but it was so loud. But yeah, calming. It was fun, but calming, but nervous too. Heck, we were all nervous.
Were you surprised at all that Tom Kelly left Jack in there to go into the 10th inning? Did you expect that, or were you a little surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised at all because TK was I love TK for a manager. I thought he was a great manager. TK a lot of times went by his gut. I know there was times when he would ask Dick Such, the pitching coach, where he's sitting next to him in a dugout, and he asked Dick, "What do you think we should do here, Dick? Should we bunt here or what?" And Suchi would say, "Yeah, let's bunt here, TK." And TK said, "Okay." And he put this "go ahead and swing away" sign on. He wouldn't listen to him all because he would go by his gut. So I'm sure, and you know, the story goes true. And I think you had TK on your show here not too long ago, a couple of years ago or whatever. I think was TK on your show with you, or your podcast?
I haven't had the pleasure.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Ken, you need to be my liaison to get some of these guys. Get me Wash and TK. Tell them I'm all right. I would love to talk to them.
Yeah, but you know, the rumor is, or the story that TK's, not the rumor, TK's tells it. He says, "Oh, what the heck? It's just a game. Stay in. You know, you can keep pitching, Jack. It's just a game." And that's the way TK went about managing stuff. So it was pretty cool. And I wasn't surprised at all that they kept him in there. Jack was still dealing. Jack was doing well. So why take him out? But like you say, nowadays, analytics would have taken him out in the fifth inning probably, or fourth inning. He would have gone.
Yeah, absolutely true. Well, Ken, look, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure getting to talk to you about some of this stuff. I appreciate having you on, and man, you look like $1 million. I know that you had a little health adversity earlier this year, man. You look great. How are things going for you?
I'm doing good. I had knee surgery, and 2 days after that, I had a stroke, which kind of sucked a lot. We're calling this, the wife and I are calling this a summer of suck, 2025. But yeah, I had a stroke. I came back from that. All right, my knee's doing better. Found out I had a hole in my heart because of that's why I had the stroke. Got that fixed a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm doing well. I was waiting to be on the Ricky Cobb show. Got me all fired up.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. All right, man, you have definitely paid your debts in 2025. So hopefully you're looking at about 10 or 20 years of smooth sailing ahead here.
When do you sign up for that?
At least. If you figure out where else, tell me, because I want to sign up for it too. Kent, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate it. You have a good one. Thanks for having me on.